Our next presenter is Brayden Hay. Brayden attends Boone High School and lives in Boone. He is the son of Tammy and Robert Cullison. The title of his project is Aquaponics Research System.
Hello, I'm Brayden Hay, and I'm going to be presenting on my aquaponics research system. What exactly is aquaponics? Well, aquaponics started in Xochimilco de la Yucatan, or in English, Xochimilco in the Yucatan Peninsula. It was an art used by the Aztec people, and it originated in chinampas, or floating gardens. And here's a picture of both of these places. How the chinampas worked is the fish would make waste, and that waste would go through the soil of the plants, go to the plants, the nutrients would go to the plants from the waste, and then the plants would make clean water for the fish. Today it still uses the same principles where the fish make the waste and the plants clean the water. The issue that arises from this is controlling the ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. These things are all toxic to both the fish and the plants, and these come from the fish waste, but if you have a biowheel or biofilter, this can be easily sorted out. Here's another diagram of how aquaponics works. From the fish, I have a laser pointer, don't I? From the fish, you get the waste. The waste comes around here to the plants, and it cycles like that. This is oversimplified, but it would take over 12 minutes to explain the filters. And why aquaponics? Well, for the longest time we've used the same traditional means of growing plants, except for the Aztecs. This was over 400 years ago, I think. Don't quote me on that. But the reason why you use this is it uses significantly less water. With places like California having these droughts, a large majority of the water in California used is in almond trees and almond growing in a lot of the crops there, which almond milk is delicious, but still. This allows for more controlling conditions. A lot of the time aquaponics is grown indoors, so you're able to control the temperature of the plants, you're able to control the temperature of the water because this is a controlled system. You're able to, if you really wanted to, control the air content in the room, such as the carbon dioxide, the oxygen. So it allows for significant more control of the conditions. It allows for year-round growing. As I said before, this is typically done indoors. So you don't have to wait for the seasons to be right. You can plant anytime, you can plant whatever you want, you can set up the rooms, that way you have whatever you want growing at optimal conditions. And it grows things significantly faster than traditional means of growing. Okay, here's the past of the system with a little faith, trust, and pixie dust. We're off to the races. Always have oodles of sticky notes. This, in the background, why I chose this, is this is actually how the system started. Originally, I wasn't even going to pursue making the system because this was one of my random drawings that I had made based off of something that I had seen on the internet. But I decided that it seemed like a good idea, so I pursued it. Obviously, it's not just a grow bed, coffee filter, tank, and a piece of styrofoam a piece of like sponge or something to let the bacteria grow anymore. It's a lot more complicated, but this is I saw this when I was making this presentation, and it made me really think just how long this system's come and just how much it's helped me grow as a person and expanded my experience with aquaponics. One problem is the original source of funding fell through, and I don't want to be rude to the people who did have the funding fall through. I don't know why it did. It could be the business had hard times with their funding, but I'm not going to mention why I did or who it was, just out of respect for the business. But within the same week, I got funding from Monsanto for a grant for the system. They didn't actually hand me a check. They actually ordered the stuff and sent it to the high school. And now we're back on track. Within that same week, some of the parts started coming in. And here's the present of the system. Here's as all the stuff did come in. And there's a picture of the centrifugal filter, which I'll be getting into in a minute. The construction is almost finished. Right now I'm waiting on some red tape for getting a hole saw, believe it or not, because I need to drill some 1 1/4 inch holes on the end caps to make the water be able to come out of the system, because that's important. The plants are being started. I'm going to start the system off with some leafy greens like kale, head lettuce, romaine lettuce, just to get the biome system started. So that way all the bacteria are in the right place, and just so that way the system can get started. Eventually I will be doing some crossbreeding with, starting out with peppers, so that way I can educate the younger people that's going to be taking over the system once I leave about how to crossbreed plants, so that way I can get into the more complicated stuff as far as crossbreeding goes with leafy greens once again, so that way I could just champion the plants and get larger growings for aquaponics, etc. And the centrifugal filter works much better than expected. This is actually what I'm using for filtration with the system. Here's a visual of the centrifugal filter. So much like a toilet, the water enters from a direction and circles around. You've seen a toilet, the water kind of does this and then it goes through here. You have kind of this shape, a V. But the reason why that happens is you have the centripetal force going outwards, because an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So because there's a wall in the way, it keeps wanting to go to the outside. So the more dense stuff actually collects around the outside and then drops. And then this tube here in the middle collects all the clean water, because fish waste is denser than the water. So all the fish waste goes outward and collects on the bottom, which this has been working extremely well in just the tests that I've been running. The reason why I chose these pebbles is they're lighter than the water. So you can see them doing just the opposite of what the fish waste does. And now that the system has been established, here's some of the plans for the future. A program that's already been verified is I'm going to be starting a elementary education program for Franklin Elementary. Oh, wrong button. For Franklin Elementary at my high school, Franklin Elementary in my district. This is going to get students interested in STEM education, science, technology, mathematics, and engineering. And this is crucial because young students are going to be the future of the system, and this will also help because it will get students interested into my system, getting them, making it so that way this program propagates itself. Eventually I will be doing crossbreeding, as I mentioned before. The reason why I chose this picture is because, little known fact, Carolina Reaper is actually a crossbreed between a habanero pepper and a Trinidad scorpion or ghost pepper for the layman. And they're hot. Yeah. So fish crossbreeding and waste comparison. This is also something I'm very passionate about. Fish crossbreeding is going to be a lot like plant crossbreeding, only you just put fish with desirable traits in the same tank and keep adding new fish with desirable traits, that we don't get a bunch of inbreeding, because you don't want a lot of recessive bad traits for the fish. With the plants, it's not as much of an issue, but with the fish, you got to be careful about that. And the waste comparison. Right now, it is very difficult to find empirical data on what fish produce what waste and what the composition of that waste is. And this is very crucial because you want to have certain nutrients in your aquaponics system. So that way your plants grow. You want to have calcium nitrate, or nitrogen, etc., potassium, and it's very difficult to find which fish produce that optimally right now. And with the centrifugal filter, you're going to be able to find just how much, because it collects the fish waste so well, you're going to be able to find just how well these different fish produce those nutrients. Also, media testing and comparison. The media for growing stuff in hydroponics and aquaponics it's like a spongy insulation feeling material, and right now you grow it in it because you don't want dirt and fish cycling in the same system. It's bad for the pump. You don't want to put bad dirt in your system. And also, since the water's going directly to the roots through this spongy material, the plants grow a lot quicker. But right now, it's just a lot of claims as to which medias do so well. And I want to make it so that with actual empirical data backing up different medias. Developments, I want to get a rooted vegetable growing. You can't have an aquaponics growing tomato right now. Just because it doesn't taste very good when you have fish waste on a potato. Just roll with them. So I need to get better filtration while also letting different nutrients get through. which is something I've started on, but it's very complicated, so that'll be later in the development of the system. I want to get non-fish meal based foods because if you, or for those who don't know this, fish meal or fish foods are based on fish, like they're fish that are made into fish meal, made into fish food, in most cases. So it's going to be a cycle that eventually ends itself with overfishing. So this is something that needs to be focused on with aquaponics. And small-scale centrifugal filtration, as you saw again in this, it's already working. This is something that's already been accomplished. So it's in the wrong slide as far as plans go, but I want to optimize this because with centrifugal filters, they usually are rather expensive, or they're rather just put together, like cheaply. But this one is put together cheaply, but it's really effective. It's just a 5-gallon bucket, some piping, and some tubing. And I want to make it so that way this is optimized as much as possible. And so since it is so small, so cost effective, this is going to be really easy to do. And the legacy of the system will remain after I graduate, both the Young Education Program and the system itself, the research program. I'm currently working on getting some people, training some people how to run it. The programs that I create will educate as well, or after I leave as well. And with an interest in the medical sciences, aquaponics has helped me learn more about the biological sciences, which I'm really excited about. And before I leave you guys go, I think Hoover would love this. He was a humanitarian who very much helped people get food in times when they didn't have food. Such as the No Meat Mondays, helping people get meat overseas, and what he did with that. And I think you'd like this because it's adding food security to the world, and it's a wonderful thing. Thank you for your time.
Could you just explain the relationship between aquaponics and medical sciences?
Well, with the fish, you need to know a bit about how the fish live and survive, and a lot about the biology of the fish in order to not kill them with the different chemicals you're putting in to make the plants grow better, because the fish usually the fish won't produce enough, as I was saying, they won't produce enough potassium, nitrite, nitrogen, and calcium. So you need to add stuff to the system to benefit that, but you can't just throw that stuff in there, otherwise it will kill the fish. So this has been, I've actually had to learn a bit about OChem for that, which is complicated and pretty fun.
Will this system stay at the school permanently after it's built, and how will it be maintained, and who's helping you do it?
Well, I'm actually recruiting some juniors, and there's a couple freshmen I'm starting to recruit for it. And how it's going to be maintained is it's a program at the school, so it's going to maintain at the school. Can you ask the question again? Sorry.
Will it be at the school permanently, and who's going to help you maintain it? How is it going to stay maintained?
So it's actually being integrated in some classes. There's going to be a full aquaponics program at our school in Boone High School starting, and this is going to be a large portion of the curriculum, teaching people the engineering method, teaching people how to use aquaponics itself. So it's going to be maintained as any other material in the class would. And I'm trying to keep this part student-led while integrating it into classes, just because I love student-led programs. So it's going to be maintained by incoming freshmen, and that's part of the reason why I'm outreaching to these elementary students. And I'm eventually actually going to start an 8th grade club with it. So my school has this thing called Club Days on Wednesdays, where every first Wednesday of the month, students will either come to the high school or remain at the middle school. And they have, there's a walking club where they just walk around town, and it's to get students more excited about school, and I'm trying to get this as one of the things that they do for that.
Do you have any sense of why Monsanto funded it in such a short period of time?
Well, I knew somebody who knew the regional manager, so that's always helpful. They're a very heavy agriculture place, and I truly believe that this is the future of agriculture. This is where it's moving.
Thank you.
In the write-up of your project, you had talked about the modularity being an important factor,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm curious to hear a bit more about that.
Oh, okay. So the reason why I'm using the materials I am, like I'm using gutters as grow beds, I'm using small scale tanks. I want to I want to make it so that way the pieces are easily interchanged. So that way, if you do a chemical test and something goes wrong, you're just able to change out a part, and it's not super expensive. And I also made the system specifically so that way, as technology progresses, so does the system. You can just delete a part, add a new part, and make it match current technology. And it's taken a bit of time to make it be able to do that, but it's well worth it.
One last question. How did you get interested in aquaponics?
I don't remember exactly how, since this was over 5 years ago that I started getting interested in it, but I do remember looking on YouTube, seeing hydroponics. Then about a few months later, I tried to make a system that did not work at all at home. And so I went to a greenhouse, and they directed me to another greenhouse that actually did hydroponics and on a professional level. For growing tomatoes. I don't know if you know them, Solomon Floral, wonderful place. And so that eventually led me to aquaponics, which is just integrating fish, and now I'm here.
So just for clarification, the system you built is your unique system?
Yeah, you won't find another one like it.
Okay, thank you.
Are you going to do anything to organize the system that you developed for other people to use, whether it's online plans or?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm actually helping write up a curriculum for the elementary students, and helping write up the curriculum for the high school classes that are going to be taught around it, and et cetera.
So Brayden, what type of fish do you use in your system?
Well, currently, since it's just being built, I'm using trash fish right now, so that way it starts the biosystem, gets the bacteria ready. So I'm just using generic goldfish right now, but we actually have tilapia in the room, so once all the biosystems get up and running, the tilapia are going to be moved into the system.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Oh, yeah.
We have a huge system of both at Kirkwood, so if you're looking at a place to go, I'm putting in a pitch. We grow tomatoes that are humongous, and peppers, and you name it. But
Do
it's,
you grow the vining tomatoes?
yes. So Kirkwood's the place for you. Thank you very much, Brayden. Great outfit.
Hard to find fish tonight.